Anxiety is a very interesting thing. I think a lot of us go through it. I think to some people it's debilitating, to other people it is kind of just a very small part of their life. But I think all of us have this voice in our head that can kind of mangle us up, especially when we're at our most vulnerable or when we're going through our hardest moments, right? And I'd say this voice is generally labeled as anxiety. I think the problem with this, I started reading The Power of Now lately, good book, and it's validated some kind of internal concerns that I've had with this where I'm like, I think I'm going insane, but I'm realizing now I'm not going insane. This is actually a pretty normal experience. So if you've had anxiety, I hope this kind of video brings you some peace with that and some empathy. And if you don't have anxiety, I think this would be a very interesting video because I think there's some misconceptions when it comes to this kind of subject. We have this voice in our head that goes, it just races and races and races, and then we have another voice that races and races and races, but it's trying to oppose the other one. And I'm going to get into that more later because it's very interesting. But the problem is The Power of Now, the book that I just mentioned. It mentions such validates, because I've been saying this to myself for so long, and it's nice to hear this from another source, that that voice isn't actually us. We identify with it. We think it's us because how can a voice in my head not be mine? And I'm not schizophrenic, so what is this? But it's not really our voice, and more importantly than that, it's not us. And it makes you feel like you're going insane because it sounds like I'm being psychotic right now. It sounds very bizarre, right? So it's so hot in here, but we're gonna power through here. It's a very interesting experience though. So with that, the most important thing to do, and The Power of Now explicitly says this a lot, and I've been thinking this to myself, is I need to get that voice, whatever that is, away from me, and I need to segregate it, right? I need to stop being like, that is my voice, that is me, this is normal. It is normal, but it's not me, and I need to get that voice out of here so I can kind of like when someone gets breast cancer and they get a mastectomy and they remove the breast, but they're also trying to remove the cancer most importantly, right? That's kind of what we're trying to do. We identify with this voice and it clings to us, and we're trying to cut that off, completely separate that, and get it as far away as possible from us because we don't want that in our life, ideally, as much as possible. Maybe it's not fully possible to mitigate like 100%, but the more it's gone, the better we can do, right? The more we can cut off. So that's kind of the goal here. So the problem is, okay, there's this voice. I've been thinking it's me, but I'm realizing now that it's not me. This is what anxiety is. We've gone this far. I think we're clear so far. We have that. And now what we need to do is I know I am me, I know that voice is not me. But when that voice starts going off, which it will, and it will for me today, it has today, right? And I know it will again later. How do I convince myself, hey, that voice isn't me, that voice is something else? Well, I thought to myself, let's take this the most like childlike way we can. Let's draw a little picture. You know what I mean? Let's just create an image in our head. And then I was like, let's do a terrible drawing of Anxiety Island, if you will. This is Anxiety Monster. That is the voice right there. I'm not in this picture. That is another voice, but we'll talk about that one later. That one's the sneaky one. This guy is the devil. And I thought, well, if I just say that voice isn't me, how can I tell what voice is me and what voice isn't me at all times, right? And then I thought, well, what if we drew a picture of it and we're like, okay, I am me. I know what I look like, physically speaking. Red Bunny, Devil Bunny, right? That is the devil bunny. That is the negative voice in my head. When I have a headache, it goes, you have a terminal illness. When my knee hurts, it goes, you need 17 surgeries. When I get a cold, I am chronically ill, I'm autoimmune, and I'm dying immediately. I have 5 hours to live. That, all those kind of thoughts that come up in my head and those voices that I can't control stuff, or voice that I can't control, that's that guy. That is the devil, Red Bunny. I think we're all with this so far. Because my thing, I know what I am. I know what my identity is. I didn't know what this identity was, but now that we've not person, well, yeah, we've personified this identity in a sense. We've given it a label. We've given it an image. It's going to be really easy to go when that voice goes. I hit my knee and I go, "Oh my god, I'm going to need surgery" or something like that, and it gets super hyperbolic. But it's not me. It's this voice. I can go, "That red bunny needs to shut up," instead of me. I understand this feels like sounds insane, but it kind of helps, right? Because now we have this image in our head of who is that voice? Where is that coming from? Who is that in general, right? And we go, that's the devil, Red Bunny. And then I say, Red Bunny needs to fuck off, right? Because now I'm not trying to think, oh, I need to stop rambling or like I'm so anxious, stuff like this. This guy just needs, I'm okay. I know I'm okay. I'm doing good. This guy's the guy that needs to screw off. I hope this makes sense so far. Now, the problem is before we get all to this, we have me, we have Red Bunny voice, and then we have another voice. And this voice is White Bunny over here. Angel, demon. So we think. But not really, actually. There's us, there's an angel, kind of, but not actually. It's more of a demon. And then there's literally the devil. This guy is the bad guy that goes, you're going to die. The future is the worst. The past is the worst. You should feel guilty about this. You should feel horrible about this. Everything that takes us out of the present and makes us worry about a million things that aren't literally happening in reality, or perhaps never have happened and very likely never will happen, right? That's this guy. That is that kind of annoying guy. But then we have this other voice that comes up being, oh, you're stupid, you're an idiot, whatever. And it's kind of standing up for you, it feels like, but it's actually not. And it's this guy. It's the white bunny over here. Right there. Bad guy, good guy. But not really good guy. Because what happens then, it takes two to tango. It takes two people to fight. Or it takes two things to fight, right? At least. And the problem is, I don't have control over this one when it starts saying really negative stuff, but I don't have control over this one fighting either. And if I get rid of this one, then it's going to be a lot harder for this one to fight. It could take me over, but at least it doesn't have someone to fight and banter with, because that banter is when this gets really out of hand, right? You're falling apart. No, I'm feeling okay. You're falling apart. I'm doing terrible. You're falling apart. No, I'm actually doing okay. All of these things, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. That's the problem with anxiety. It isn't one bad thought here, one bad thought later, stuff like that. It's where you precipitate on these things, I think that's the word, and it just eats you alive and it completely gouges you and takes you out of everything. That's when becomes a problem, and that's why this guy's not a good guy. This voice says things that makes you feel better, you think, and it's standing up for you, so you think it's your friend and stuff. But this is actually causing the fight to go on just as much as this one is really, right? Again, it takes two to tango. That's why I don't like this guy very much, and I don't like this guy very much. And I've always said you must take the good with the bad and stuff like that, and they're highly connected often, right? And I've always said as well, and I have a video on this actually, it's called Never Be Too Happy. So if you like this video, check that one out as well, because that one gets more into what I'm about to say very briefly. But I've always said, if a person who can manage their highs will always be as happy as possible. Because it's very easy to go, hey, I'm feeling bad. I don't want to feel bad. Let's just feel good instead. It's not easy, but it's a lot simpler, right? Because it's way more organic to want to feel good, right? That's like hedonism. That's kind of the basis of life on a very superficial sense. But when you're feeling really good, it's hard to not let yourself really get caught up in that and really kind of ride the wave on that. And it's difficult to not extract yourself from that and be like, this is good, but I can't get too high here. Because if you extend your highs, you extend your lows in essence, right? And you stretch that out. It's kind of like a sober person's highs and lows are more like this, but someone who does drugs a lot or alcohol or porn, whatever, their highs and lows are like this. And these hurt them just as much as these do because it's the distance in between where you really get beat up because you're transitioning so much emotionally. That's why things like that, A, that's why they're addictive. B, that's why it's hyper problematic and why yeah, you might be happy, but you're not at peace. And this is peace. This is bad. This is peace, right? Yeah. I hope this all makes sense so far. Point being, um, we don't like these voices. Takes two to tango, good and bad. We want this guy gone. That's kind of where I'm going with that. Is this guy's bad, but we need this guy gone as well. And the nice thing that we can do is, I know I am me. This is what I look like. Love it or hate it, do what you will. This is what I look like. This is me. This is Sparky. This is bad guy, Red Bunny. This is good guy, but actually not good guy. And now we've established that. White Bunny, Angel, and like cosplay, let's say. Angel Bunny, oh so bad. This guy, oh so bad. So now we've identified and personified this. We've identified and personified this. And now we have Anxiety Island over here. Anxiety Island over here. Look how terrible that blending is of ground too. Isn't that just the worst drawing you've ever seen? So funny. Anyways, we have all of this. And we can just say, fuck you, Red Bunny. Fuck you, White Bunny. Get out of here. I hate these guys. This is Anxiety Island. And I can cast them away. And now what we're doing here is, let's say I was on this island too, because I am on this island a little bit. I'm on Anxiety Island, but I'm paddling away now. And the further I get away, the more distant their voices get. The further I paddle away, the happier I am. The more it's just me in my head and my space. And I get away from Anxiety Island. I abandon them here, and now bad voice is gone. Good, but actually still bad voice is gone. I am me. I am pure. I've gotten that psychological mastectomy, if you will, whatever you want to call it. And now these guys are stranded at bay here. They're gone. I can go on my way, clean and pure and as mindful and present as possible. I hope all this made sense. I know that this is very... Enjoy this one more time, though. Beautiful drawing. I know that this sounds really obscure. This probably sounds really weird. I hope the audio quality is good because my microphone's in a weird spot today. But yeah, I hope this makes sense. I hope that this can help people because It's very interesting. I understand the drawing's terrible, but I hope you love it. Yeah, this is kind of my 2 cents on that. Does this fix and solve anxiety? Yeah, maybe not, honestly. But I think this is what anxiety looks like when it's solved and fixed, if that makes sense. And I think that this is part of that process. Like, this isn't like a focus on what you're doing right now kind of thing, or reset your brain or take deep breaths. Like, it's not an actual tangible tactic. But I think if you can personify this and kind of build up this world in your head, whatever characters you want to make for these two kind of demons in essence, I think that this can actually bring you a lot of peace in the long run, and this can help you fight anxiety. And I understand like it isn't a physical tactic that you can like implement right now, but you can start thinking about this and personifying, identifying those characters and segregating them from you so you can feel kind of cleansed and a bit more pure, if that makes sense. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you really liked it, subscribe. If you didn't, totally fine. Don't do what you will. Either way, comment below. Like, do you have anxiety? Do you not? Do you think that this description of anxiety is relatable? Do you think I'm like a psychotic and I'm schizophrenic and I'm just an insane guy drawing bunnies on an island for some reason? Comment what you will. Let me know. Very interesting video. But yeah, either way, have a great day and see you later.